All right, Josh, you have the top of the agenda list and you need to jump for the enablement group conversation. So I'll let you take it.
Yeah, sure. First, just wanted to apologize for being a little less available than normal last week. We had a pretty major effort underway pretty urgent effort underway to try to reduce the amount of money we spend on GitLab.com. We need to get that into the plan to present to the board and just to organize the company around. And so we're trying to figure out how much money we could save on GitLab.com. For some context, right now we spend $18 million, or we're projecting to spend $18 million on free users this year. And that's a lot of money to spend on free users. So we're trying to bring that down, just given the overall operating environment that we face right now, and probably the reduced revenue were against expectations this year. So some context there. That will continue, but I think it'll continue with less urgency as we have most of the plan, and now it's just about refining it. So that's why I was a little less available last week than normal. And that dovetails into the last item here. We can talk about more, but if we have opportunities to improve the efficiency of GitLab.com, that would be great, as we are looking to, again, primarily save money on our free users. The paid users I think we got around 80% margin from. So as long as you're paying, we're okay, but the free users in particular are a problem. So that said, we can dive into the 13.1. I'll go through more of the comments today, this week that I sort of missed or didn't have a chance to devote a lot of time to last week. But I listed some items here which I think were good candidates to think about for 13.1. I think Camille, you had added or just the usage ping one. I think that one's great. A lot of the in particular, a lot of our enablement metrics we want to track as part of our North Star metrics project actually are already captured today in Prometheus. And so if we can determine a way to collect some of these metrics from Prometheus, that would be awesome. I realize that the first iteration may not be getting it from Prometheus, but I think it's a good journey to go down, likely if we can figure it out. So I think that one's fantastic. And the more we can learn about the performance of our users, all of our installations that are not GitLab.com, the better. So that's great.
So I don't recall there being a story for Prometheus in this epic. Do we need to add one in there to review existing items that we have? Is that what you were saying? Yeah.
Well, I think in our discussions maybe last week, we thought that Prometheus might be a potential data source. Mm-hmm. So we can talk about that, since it already has much of this information. It has a little more broader scope, but it's probably easier to just call like the Ruby interpreter and figure out what the memory is. But I'm not sure if you'll get everything, like all the processes. I don't know, without something like Prometheus. So that was great.
So if you would have Prometheus, it would give us like a lot of insight, because like we could also get like, I don't know, average Abdex type of score, which is kind of helpful to see exactly how it works. So I don't know exactly how many of our customers run internal Prometheus anyway. So
yeah, that would have been my question, if that's even available on every installation.
Probably this is another thing that we should add to getting this data initially. Understand the topology and like understand if people run Prometheus as well. If we can really instrument that, and it's like useful path for us.
Do we have a usage ping to find out, like usage ping counter to find out how many people run Prometheus?
So out of the box, we bundle Grafana, and all of our Prometheus exporters are turned on in both I believe the charts, but also for sure Omnibus. So by default it's on. I don't think we collect a usage ping on those. So that could be a place to start, but by default it's turned on. And in talking to a number of our customers, a lot of them do use Grafana. And so that's going to be Prometheus based with a data source. It might not be the Prometheus server that we provide as part of our Omnibus package, However, you know, that's pretty common. And so we could offer a way to sort of point ourselves somewhere else if we needed to, for example. But there is a subset of people who also utilize Datadog's work for Prometheus metrics. I don't think it's high, but I have seen some tickets based on problems with that, mainly the Datadog service crashing on the number of metrics we export. So I think it's, yeah, sorry, go ahead.
No, I just wanted to ask, InfluxDB, is that still a thing? Because I think about the time I joined, it was being phased out, but I still see it pop up every now and then in issues and whatnot. I
just saw a merge request to add the removal notice to the 13.0 blog post. So I think it's going, seems like it's going away, this release, like officially.
It's definitely going away. Like there's still some data in the influx that like they are not readable anywhere, but so far Prometheus and Kibana pretty much gives you like the 90% of the data that were in the influx at this point, with more granularity than influx. I know that like with the influx, the biggest issue was like the volume in of data that we had to process. There were some crazy aggregations being done with the influx, and like it didn't scale very well. That like we had to drop a ton of data. So like the Prometheus with the federation and kind of hierarchy of like aggregating the data, and Kibana basically having all data from the logs. This is
but Kibana is something we only run for .com, right? And we can't expect that all self-managed customers run Kibana, right?
Yes, like unlikely that they run Kibana, but it's also unlikely that they run InfluxDB on the other angle. The only thing that we can probably be kind of certain is like what is Josh saying, Prometheus, because Prometheus is pretty resource efficient, and the more we add to the Prometheus, it's kind of give us better insight.
Okay.
But for GitLab.com, like we have significantly more insight using Kibana because we have more granularity on the data. Prometheus give us a pretty good overall of like the whole system, how it behaves, but it doesn't give us like very into detail information. So I think it's just of the scale. Like on the small instances, Prometheus is gonna be very meaningful. On our scale, it's like good to have a quick summary of the whole infrastructure and alerting. But for getting like the granularity of data and projects, like endpoints being used, we use basically Kibana pretty much.
It is an interesting point though, because we do have a logging feature in GitLab as well, right? I can go to the system logs and I don't know where they're pulled from right now, but that's a feature we have, right? Maybe we can use that as well for like some limited extraction of.
All right, I'm gonna pull us back to the agenda because Josh has to jump for enablement.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah.
No, it's this. I wish we could talk more, and we have the planning meeting later on this week, and we can dive deep as much as we can in an hour. So, yep, back to the agenda.
Yeah, I also just linked the North Star metrics presentation. If you flip through there, you'll see a lot of things that are based on stuff like Prometheus metrics, like Aptech scores, things like that. And the plan was initially for efficiency reasons, to start building the charts off GitLab.com. We had it, but obviously if we can incorporate self-managed, that would be a significant improvement to our understanding of how our instances behave out there in the wild, which would be awesome. So +1 to that. I'm not sure we need to have Prometheus as the first iteration, but I think keeping in mind that would be really helpful. Next one is the live tracing. I agree that especially with the infrastructure's deprioritizing of this, that it's probably not that important, and the fact that they're going with Jaeger makes us even more dependent upon infrastructure. So I think we can deprioritize. The thing I would ask is that if we can just be responsive if they do find something that we can help out. For background, we've had tracing support and/or added it under Dunigate in the product a year ago, and it's just sort of stalled. It's available in the GDK. No one's ever tested in production. We don't recommend to our customers because we're afraid it's going to blow up, and it's just not in a good state. And I think it would be helpful if we can get this across the line and feel confident about it. as in
So
we can tell customers to use it, and support can use it to figure out what's going on. Just one quick point there from in talking to support, their most challenging tickets to deal with are ones where the GitLab is slow. When GitLab is down, it's generally easy to deal with. When it's slow, they find those the most challenging to troubleshoot and figure out what's happening for our customers. And this could provide a nice piece of insight. Sorry, go ahead.
I'm just asking, like you mentioned live tracing. You think about that Jagger tracing, or you think about something different?
I'm sorry, I'm talking about the one 2 bullets below. I got confused. The tracing on an as-needed basis. This is the CI tracing. Sorry. We should move these down. Yes. I think this one's good. Sorry, context on this one is that this is blocking further migration into Kubernetes for GitLab.com. Because we don't have live tracing on GitLab.com, and we don't want to bring NFS into the Kubernetes deployment. The fact that the current tracing model requires NFS. And so that prevents us from to move some of these nodes into Kubernetes, which the deployment team would like to do. And I think it's, Camille, if I'm right, or if I understand correctly, it's performance problems that are actually blocking the rollout, not like a functional issue.
So it's functional. It's just imperformant because like it uses significant amount of the memory to transfer data back and forth. So it uses memory, I/O, and network. I mean I/O basically. It uses memory and I/O. There is some OpenMR from me that tries to solve that. I didn't yet get to the point of solving that, but I think we have pretty good. I have pretty good understanding of like what is the deficiency and what would be the ways of solving that. There is still a challenge of really like rolling out because it's quite complex topic because of the concurrency. But maybe like we could discuss that on the Wednesday in more detail, maybe have more dedicated to like understand the weight of that compared to everything else.
Okay, cool. Sounds good. I'm not sure this is the most important thing, right? Probably and globally as far as what's going on with GitLab.com, moving to Kubernetes. It might not be the most important, but it's good to unblock this, I think, for 2 reasons. We'll hopefully see some cost reduction by being able to get higher utilization of CPU memory with the bin stacking optimizations of Kubernetes. Right now, we're averaging like 17% utilization across CPU and memory. So a whole lot of either we hand tune a lot of machine types or we just shift it into Kubernetes. I think is ways to try and improve that, but there could be some cost benefits there, and also some obviously fixing these things for our customers who are on Kubernetes today with GitLab.com would be helpful, but it's probably not the highest priority thing. The next one down below is actually an OKR that we have going on. I'm not sure if everyone's aware. I've linked the OKR there, but basically to improve the speed index of, in particular, the tree page, which is like the repository list. This was a result of some pretty bad essentially a browser-based performance tests that were run by a competitor of ours and posted online. So you can see some comparison there. This is an OKR. I think, so this would be great to work on if there's actually large back-end items that we can do to fix this. I did see the discussion on the front-end side. If we want to venture into the front end for memory reduction or further performance improvements, great. I was thinking we could stay back-end, but this is one that is a key result for us for the company and engineering this quarter. So I think that one should probably be number 2 or similar, by higher priority than this one. Please ask questions if you have questions, by the way. I'm just trying to maybe highlight some other items here. Other than this, the tracing one we discussed, I think that can be relatively lower priority because Infra deprioritized it. And then the journeys to spend a little time talking here. I think maybe I've discussed this, but the reason why in particularly I find this important is because I'm trying to think about solving performance for the company, and I think right now we generally have most issues known. Like even in the speed index one, they've already had a lot of issues open that would have fixed this. We just haven't prioritized them correctly, and that frankly falls on product for not prioritizing them properly. And so I think the question in my mind is how do we fix this long term without having our CEO sort of propose OKRs for performing, improving particular sites of the page, is to really try to make the performance impact more consumable and also more related to the business impact. We have like 1,000 plus performance issues identified. And it's not always easy to figure out like if 0.2 mils or 200 milliseconds faster, Rails route controller will actually really move the needle for anything. But if we had an idea of how long a job to be done took, like I want to comment on a merge request or I want to review a merge request and all the workflow that goes into behind it, that could really, I think, crystallize the impact to product managers across the company. And we also have this corresponding North Star metric where you have certain activities which are your North Star and their activity as such. And so if that activity is slow, you should probably look into fixing it. And so that's where I was coming from here, which is to try and be more proactive, which is to help more of the company prioritize performance and fixing their performance problems. Because for a lot of things that we're talking about here, it's already been known, just that people previously haven't done it until we came around. And that's not the best pattern, probably. It's better to have these areas fix their problems when they should. But that's the problem I'm trying to solve here. I totally understand the concern, which is that I agree it's probably the quality area, and I can get with MEC in the next 2 days to try and figure out if they can pick this up. But I think continuing with status quo, where we don't do a good job of highlighting the performance problems of actual user workflows, isn't good for the overall performance of GitLab.com and GitLab in general, is sort of my concern, which is why I'm trying to get it done. And sort of I can help get it done here with the memory group. And so that's where I'm coming from on this one. But I'm certainly open to obviously the concerns here for sure. And we can talk about this in more detail, of course.
Yeah, and Alexi had a question on the same topic. So perhaps we can just take that async since we got to get through this and you got to run, sure. Josh. So do you want to run through the last two?
Yeah, last two, I think the boot times is also a Kubernetes issue. I believe that how long it takes to boot our various services can take a long time. And this also prevents on-demand scaling of in Kubernetes, like up and down, because it can take 4 or 5 minutes for a new node to come up or a new pod to come up. And so that can really slow down how aggressively you can respond. For other services like the registry, we actually see quite a large amount of variance in how many pods we run. So here's one workload as an example. Let me briefly find it if I can. Here it is. So I'll share my screen real fast. Yeah, thanks. But just some context on this, that this is our one of the workloads we have fully in Kubernetes right now is our Doc registry. And you can see throughout the course of the day, this is over 7 days, we're actually pretty dynamically scaling up and down load based on demand. And so this can give us, again, a pretty good insight into efficiency as we can spin up both pods, but also nodes if the cluster needs to grow on demand as needed. So this is kind of more along the lines of the efficiency, but it can be harder to do this if it takes 5 minutes to add one new pod to consume new requests based on what we're seeing as far as demand.
I'm wondering, because it's actually an interesting topic, maybe too long to discuss now, because like Puma with the higher threads count gives you like more flexibility, because like you can run with higher threads count and React that like you are starting to run on the more saturation on the given node and can like still give you the capacity slightly slower initially, but like you can really like respond to that without really like significantly delaying the workload. So So maybe like the boot times is still like valid problem to solve, but maybe it's not so severe if we properly guide how to configure Puma when running on Kubernetes, because Puma gives you like significantly more flexibility on how it runs.
Yeah, I think if we can commit this other ways, the other impact of boot times, as you know, as far as why to do it, is that Kubernetes likes to do rolling updates. And so when they do a rolling update right now, it takes like an hour plus to do a rolling update because it drains one pod at a time. So it stops it, which takes like a minute or two to stop it, and then updates it, and then starts it. That takes 5 minutes. And so every pod takes like 7 minutes to 10 minutes to actually drain and restart. And so working through the whole fleet takes a long time. It actually takes so long that Helm gives up and quits halfway through. So you have to tell Helm to wait longer for our service. But yeah. Anyways, that's great. So please, again, I don't want to dismiss anything. I'm just trying to add color and context here, and we can do more in the issues. And then yeah, just I mentioned before, the cost impact of GitLab.com is a key focus for us this here. And so if we have ideas on how to improve efficiency of GitLab.com, I mentioned before some of the utilization and potentially get with Kubernetes. But if there's other things that we think we can do, that would be good to know.
Cool. All right. Thanks, Josh. I'll let you jump so you can go prep for the group conversation.
Yeah, I'll hang out for another 3 minutes and then hop on over.
Okay. Yep. So yeah, so we have a group conversation right after this. And then, excuse me. So some other topics, domain expertise is in a weekend review. Please read and consider adding your domain expertise to Team YAML, and there's a new file out there for domain expertise as well. The planning session on Wednesday, there's kind of 2 tracks of topics. One is just reviewing how we do things, which is we'll probably start the meeting with that. And if we need to split off for another session on what we're doing, we can set up another session or just identify the issues that we need to talk about asynchronously to get more specific on work items for now and for 13.1. So please read the doc. There's a doc full of topics, and then there's kind of a roadmap doc as well that I threw together with some suggestions. So take a look at those. It is release post item week. So the things that I'm aware of, I don't know, does the CI minutes, does that qualify as a feature, Josh, for release post, you think?
Yes, I would think so. Like, but hopefully Kenny can write that one up. But yeah, for sure, if we're gonna be doing CI minutes type things, then we should sure announce that
Okay.
on for GitLab.com. I'm not sure going to the release post, but unless it's been like self-managed, potentially do. But we can see. I'm not sure what Kenny's plan is there. How to roll this out.
So Josh, it doesn't affect like on-prem installs. It only affects GitLab.com. And I believe Ken is like preparing announcement. Like he really, from what we discussed, he was aiming on doing that this week.
Okay.
Awesome.
Cool. And then some performance topics. If I missed anything, please feel free to add them. We'll make sure that they get into the performance list of the release post items. And let's see, we covered Alexi's topic. And these are all the work items. Is there any urgent work items that anybody wants to cover? We have 5 minutes. All right. So I would recommend async items. We can continue to groom and focus on the user journey story. And it sounds like the boot times would be another good one to have an async conversation around. So we'll add that down there. All right. Any other topics for today? Nope. All right. Thanks, everybody. Happy Monday. See you in the group conversation.
Thank you. Bye. Yeah.